fakes Ritter to the end zone, looking for Pierce. Did he hang on? Yes. Touchdown. Lead back as I've been around. Here he goes again. Busts free. Jerrod Ford down the sideline. Foot race. House call. Touchdown. 79 yards. Big run in the Peach Bowl. This is a big one too. And it's going to go all the way to the house on the first play from scrimmage.
Bearcat Blitz on the Believe Network. We're presented by FanDuel Sportsbook, and I'm your host, Russ Eltman of Cincinnati Bearcats on SI. My co-host, Neil Meyer, hopping into the feed very shortly as we get to our top of the show business here. We are presented by FanDuel Sportsbook, where you can bet on the college basketball future side of things for the upcoming 2026-27 season. FanDuel Sportsbook has odds for the national champion of the upcoming year, and just two teams have odds shorter than 12-1 as the transfer portal kind of mystery and shrouded vagueness continues. Not a lot of rosters finalized yet, so no reason to have teams much closer than this to even odds. We only have two teams at 10-1 or lower. Michigan at 6-1 and Duke at plus 850, and you got Cincinnati sitting there at 100-1 on FanDuel Sportsbook. They were 150-1 at other sportsbooks a couple weeks ago, so those odds shortening amidst the early days of the Jerrod Calhoun era. Head to FanDuel Sportsbook to bet on the national championship winner for the upcoming basketball season in college athletics. We have plenty to get to today. Two more transfer portal additions have happened since Neil and I last got together. You got Eric Mahaffey, Muller man, local Cincinnati native, coming back from Akron to Cincinnati to play for Jerrod Calhoun's Bearcats this fall. And then Adnan Eeleman is coming over from Utah State, was part of Jerrod Calhoun's team last year as a freshman and will continue his career at Cincinnati. We'll touch on those names. We'll touch on some of the names that have also exited in recent days from Cincinnati's roster. And a quick heads up at the top of the program, Cincinnati has canceled the spring showcase to be open to the public. They will still practice inside the indoor facility on Saturday, but no spring showcase, unfortunately, due to about a half inch of rain expected in the tri-state throughout the afternoon. So nothing there, unfortunately, for the fans to see at this point in the calendar, but they are going to do a fall kind of fan event to make up for it later on. So keep your eyes peeled for details on that. FanDuel Sportsbook, great presenting sponsor, and we got some great messages coming your way before we get to the full show, and Neil Meyer joining me right after this. Neil Meyer of the frontofficenews.com joining me now. And Neil, multiple additions to the Cincinnati Bearcats roster in recent days. UC now sitting at 7 roster spots used. You got 1 year of eligibility left for guys like Miles Colvin, Tyler Tejada, and Riley Allenspach. You got 3 years left for their newest additions in Eric Mahaffey and Adnan Eeleman. Still Jordy Rodriguez on the roster, although I do not expect him to be a part of the Bearcats team next year. We'll see how much longer he takes to enter the transfer portal, or if he may not even enter. Maybe he just wants to be done with college basketball and go back to Europe to keep playing there. We'll see what happens with Jordy. And then David Oweze, redshirted his freshman year and has 4 years of eligibility left. 8 spots remaining, Neil, as the two newest additions get ready to make their experiences, make their impact felt for the Bearcats nation. Eric Mahaffey, we'll start with him. People may be a little bit more familiar with Eric because of his time at Muller, comes over from Akron, and Neil, a lot of potential for Eric Mahaffey. 7.8 points per game last year, 5.6 rebounds across 22 minutes per outing as an all-MAC freshman team member. Shot 53% overall, 60% from 2, 39.1% from deep, 76% from the free throw line. He was ranked 18th among small forwards in this transfer cycle and 138th overall. Neil, the guy rebounds with the best of them. He plays great on ball defense. He can stroke it from outside. This guy embodies 3 and D at right around 6'6", 190 pounds. This is the type of Swiss Army knife wing that almost every team in the country is looking for, and especially a guy who's this young and can continue growing in a school that his whole family, his whole friend group, everybody around him from that Cincinnati Moeller consortium is going to be able to watch him play.
Yeah, Russ, and I think the biggest thing to take away for Cincinnati and Jerrod Calhoun in this instinct is simply the size of Eric Mahaffey. I think that's the biggest thing that stands out because when you look at Cincinnati's roster from a year ago to what is currently being constructed right now by Jerrod Calhoun, Russ, I mean, I think the tallest point guard or the tallest guard Cincinnati had was Sean Abayev, who's a guard slash forward a little bit at times or a wing player. Sincere Harris was listed at 6'4". Jordy Rodriguez didn't get much playing time at 6'6", but Mahaffey is one of those guys who comes in and gives you that Big 12 size at that point guard position. You mentioned the 3 and D specifically as the play style. I think that is a huge thing for Cincinnati. 6'6", 200 pounds, extremely bouncy. And this was a guy who affected the game in multiple different ways as a freshman for Akron this past season and averaged nearly 8 points a game, but also nearly 6 rebounds a game. So when you're shooting nearly 39% from three, named to the MAC all freshman team, I think this is a huge get for Cincinnati. Obviously, Mahaffey was one of the most highly coveted guards there in this portal. Was probably hearing from quite a bit of schools and programs around the country, but I think the biggest thing for him was having the opportunity to come back home and play in front of his family there at Moeller. All of his Moeller family can come 15, 20 minutes down the road to Fifth Third Arena. And he mentioned it. He went in depth with Moeller's broadcaster, Barrett Cohen, about the decision. And it was like, hey, like right when Cincinnati reached out and said they have interest, it was like, I knew this is where I wanted to go because of being close to my family and whatnot. His mom actually graduated from the University of Cincinnati as well. So there's a lot of ties that drew him to Cincinnati. But Russ, I think this is a really good get for Jerrod Calhoun and the Cincinnati Bearcats.
And it's kind of a extension and a first splash for Jerrod, Neil, into the Cincinnati high school basketball ranks here. You're starting to get those relationships going. And the bottom line is, Neil, you can't turn over 12, 15 roster spots every year. You cannot do it if you expect to win at a consistent level in college basketball. Yes, you need to hit the transfer portal hard, and you need to be able to get the best kind of talent that fits your values and fits your budget value each transfer cycle. But Neil, let's look at the Final Four teams and the Elite Eight teams over the past 4 or 5 years. You need at least 4 to 5 guys retained from the prior team to be able to consistently expect to get to that level. Now, nobody's expecting Cincinnati to get to an Elite Eight this year or a Final Four. So that's why it's okay to have a complete roster turnover like they're going to have basically outside of maybe Jordy Rodriguez, because that hasn't been official yet. But I would be stunned if he is on the team at this point, considering how everybody else has left. So when you look at it in that sense, it's a strong base so far, Neil, of high-level veteran guys with 1 year left, hungry to still make an impact and make some money on their way out the door of college basketball, paired with a player like Mahaffey. We'll get the pronunciation. I'm not quite sure how you pronounce his last name, but 3 years of eligibility left there. 3 years of eligibility left now for Aileman, 4 years of eligibility left for David and Weze. They're going to be smashing the high school ranks, and I'm sure right around the area I'm recording this podcast from right now in Springdale, Ohio, where there are plenty of talented players at Princeton and Lakota West going into their junior and senior years this coming fall. Jerrod Calhoun knows you have to build the core of your program through the high school ranks, through the grassroots ranks, and those kinds of relationships. And this just helps him further that even more. I mean, Moeller has produced plenty of great talents over the years, Neil, including one and done players like Jackson Hayes, Miles McBride. I mean, that's a school that you want to have a good relationship with, and this is a good stop or a good marker for that.
Yeah, and I think it's a great turning point there too, Russ, that you mentioned the local recruiting ranks. Like you mentioned, I mean, Cincinnati right now is a hotbed for basketball recruits, and Jerrod Calhoun, and obviously this staff knows that. But
Yep.
I mean, you look at what's going on at Princeton right now. You have Cam Mercer, you have Amir Gill, Amir Phillips is also drawing attention. Then you look at Lakota West, you have Josh Tyson, you have Bryce Curry. Most of those guys do have offers from Cincinnati. Bryce
Those are
Curry
all
does.
like top 150 guys too, aren't they, Neil? All
Could
those
be top
guys?
100 at the end of the year
Yeah.
with
I
how
mean,
well two of
you're
those
hoping to
Lakota
get at
West
least
guys.
one, maybe two of those guys if Jerrod Calhoun has his druthers.
Yeah, and with things going there, if things go the right way with how many people expect them to, Cam Mercer could be a top 5 player in the country
Yeah.
from right here in Cincinnati. Josh Tyson, already a top 100 player. He might eclipse top 50 by the end of a senior season. Bryce Curry could hit a top 100. Like the talent is there in Cincinnati. So landing this commitment from Eric Mahaffey is huge. You mentioned the productivity coming out of Moeller High School. So when you look down at that and you see where Cincinnati sits in the recruiting ranks, yes, it is a new coaching staff, but I can tell you right now, Jerrod Calhoun and this staff are going to hit the 5-1-3 running. They're going to hit the ground running in terms of high school games. So it's going to be interesting to see. There's a lot of great talent here in this city. So you might as well find ways to keep the talent home, right? And that's where this starts with Eric Mahaffey. And we all go back to this here in the local recruiting ranks. Because right now, Russ, Eric Mahaffey is the lone Cincinnatian on this roster after the departure of Tyler McKinley in the transfer portal. So It's great to see you have that Cincinnati tie still on your roster that can help you in the local recruiting ranks as well.
And a guy who's not from Cincinnati, but has a lot of familiarity here with Jerrod Calhoun and this whole staff is the other recruit who got added actually on Thursday afternoon, Adlan Elaman, who was a 4-star recruit, kind of mid-tier, fluttering between 3 and 4-star, ranked 201st nationally and 45th among power forwards coming out of high school. And then last year, Neil posted 6.7 points, 3.3 rebounds on 44.4% shooting, 30.2% from outside. I think a guy that can really develop in this system, a guy who flashed a lot of great things at Utah State. You get him in this monster factory with Michael Rayfelt, which all signs point to Michael Rayfelt staying on as the Cincinnati strength and conditioning coach, continuing that run here at UC. Get him up to about 205, 210, Neil, maybe 215, and you got a really physical kind of athletic swing wing that is going to be able to bang around and last with the physicality in the Big 12. I think if you put some pounds on Adlan Elaman, there's a long and strong runway, just like Mahaffey, to get up to a starting level player in the Big 12.
Yeah, Russ, and I mean it's safe to say Coach Rayfeld could take you and I and turn us into D1, D3 basketball players just with a couple weeks.
I don't know about say that.
I wouldn't say
he
D1,
could probably put 20 pounds on us. I don't know if he could turn us into D3 basketball players, but I get what you're saying.
You get what I'm going with there. I mean, you give him some time to work with you, he can really transform a body. So this is going to be one of those transformations that I'm really curious to see how it's going to play out. I mean, you saw what he did to Jalen Haynes. We saw what he did to Jamil Reynolds in the past. Could this be one of those where he says, hey, I want you to play right now closer to that 205, 210, 215 range, whatever that might be? It's going to be interesting to see where we sit with Adlan Elaman coming into October, maybe when they get through summer workouts and things start to ramp up there in the fall. So, Russ, I'm excited for this one. Obviously, this was kind of rumored for quite some time. Highly anticipated. Everyone was like, when is Adlan going to announce he's coming? He had offers from other schools. Houston was definitely in the mix there as well as one of those Big 12 schools, Blue Bloods, coming in there to try to make a last-second steal off Jerrod Calhoun. But, Russ, I'm really excited for this move. Now, when you look at him, people kind of look and they're going to be like, okay, this might have been how Utah State fans are quoting it right now on social media. This was, quote unquote, Cincinnati's golden goose of the class, and he didn't really produce as a true freshman to what people might have expected. But Russ, 3 years of eligibility left with him after you put him in the monster factory with Coach Rayfeld. It's going to be very, very fun to watch, in my opinion. I mean, when you look down, he's got the size, he's got the athleticism, he has great feel around the basket. I mean, looking at a tweet right now, and 6'9" with a 7-foot wingspan, and he was one of 5 freshmen this past season with 20 plus dunks, 2% plus steal rate, 2% plus block, 1% plus assist to turnover ratio. The only other 4 freshmen in the country, one of those was the player of the year in Cameron Boozer. So, I mean, when you look down, that's pretty good company right there.
No doubt. No doubt. Just got to tighten some things up on the edges with Elam, get him a little bit bigger, a little stronger, and he should be able to bang around in the Big 12 with those bigs down low. Before we get to the break here and get to the football side of things, Neil, exits. As I mentioned, Jordi Rodriguez still the only officially still on the roster for this coming season, former or old Bearcats player from the last roster, as we saw Jalen Haynes enter in recent days. We saw Tyler McKinley enter in recent days. Jalen Haynes actually already came up with his new home. He has just headed up the highway about 40 minutes to play for Dayton, back in the A10 where he dominated with George Mason 2 years ago. I think that's a good fit for Haynes, and he will be playing Cincinnati this fall. But overall, Neil, Tyler McKinley, I don't think he will be back. Getting into the portal this late in the process makes me think that he will definitely not get back to Cincinnati. And then Baba Miller, as we close out the segment here, searching for a 5 and 5 year eligibility marker. That is something the NCAA has been rumored to be completing and finalizing over the next few days. And they have actually sent out legislation to all the member schools about what it's going to look like. That legislation, Neil, though, did not describe current players and their eligibility for a 5 for 5. It just said that they were going to be installing 5 for 5. It's the plan to do that, but that it will be for, obviously, for players coming out of high school in this class or the next class and having 5 years to play 5 seasons. Then we'll see what happens here. I mean, Baba Miller had to sit out a good chunk of his freshman season at Florida State because of a travel benefit that NCAA ruled him ineligible due to. So a lot up in the air with Baba Miller, but Neil, I mean, he's not going to play for Cincinnati. I would be absolutely stunned if that ends up happening. He's a guy that could command the same level of money as a Flory Badunga. He could command $3 to $4.5 million very easily in his next college home, and a college home that he should want to go to, because that's a lot more money than Baba Miller will be making as a second-round pick, which is where he is projected, and he will not be a first-round pick. The only place he could get drafted as of right now in the current rankings is the second round. Tough to see Baba Miller go, especially if he ends up on a Big 12 team and gets that extra year of eligibility, but tip of the cap to him. He was easily the best part of this Bearcats season, the first Bearcat since Oscar Robertson in the 1959-60 campaign to lead a UC squad in points, rebounds, and assists per game. Only Jordy left, Neil, among the Bearcats that have not entered the portal or made their decision known, and he might be headed back to Europe. I mean, there hasn't been much word on Jordi Rodriguez at all over the last few days.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing I'll hit on first, Russ, is obviously the news of Baba Miller. And I think this was something that we were hearing rumblings of this being a potential option back in late February. So now it's kind of, as this 5 for 5 thing kind of gets going, they've kind of already said, like, they don't think these guys who just wrapped up their senior year are going to be grandfathered into this. But I think the legitimate shot here for him to enter the portal was to fight that travel benefit claim that ended up getting him suspended for 11 games his freshman year. We've seen it with Kirk Carissa, who might also have a 7th year still looming out there. Who knows in that aspect? But, I mean, it's worth something to consider, right? If you're Baba Miller, definitely get into the portal if you have that opportunity. Because like you mentioned, Russ, I mean, right now, the way NIL is going, he's going to make significantly more money right now in college if he is granted a 5th year than what he would make in the NBA as an undrafted free agent or a late second round draft pick, especially on that two-way or the UDFA deals in the NBA. So it's going to be interesting to see. Now, I am curious myself to kind of follow this thing along and see where it goes. But
yeah, Neil, for context here, the 30th pick in the NBA draft is slotted to make 2 points. The 30th pick in last year's draft made $2.28 million. in their first season. And Baba Miller is a definitive, at least $3 million player for one season in college basketball.
Yeah, and that's the benefit of NIL if you look at it that way. That's the benefit. But
That's
overall,
crazy,
Russ, for
Neil. Like
me,
the top end of the NIL market is basically like Flory Badunga. He would have had to have been projected to be a top 11 draft pick to beat the $4.5 million salary he's getting from Louisville this coming year in NIL. It's just amazing
it's
how
crazy.
much the
And
market has skyrocketed in 4 or 5 years.
and it's also crazy to think that Yaxel Lindenberg just got what, 5 million from Michigan, and he is my age, basically, Russ. He's
Right.
24, 25. I'm
And it's
26.
going to
So I
take him
mean,
at least 2 years to make that money in the NBA, maybe 3, depending on where he's picked.
yeah, which is crazy to think too. But back to the topic of the transfer exits, I do think Tyler McKinley will have a couple options out there. Obviously, did have some stuff that took place after the season, so hopefully he finds his way, but he'll have significant interest if I had to imagine. Jalen Haynes back to the A10, saying it seemed about right, but for him to find a home so quickly in Dayton was interesting. I do think it's going to be interesting him coming to having to play Cincinnati, Russ, because if there's anything that you and I know from this team is we know that Jalen Haynes loves a good trash talk rivalry matchup, and I think that's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see how does his play style fit with Emil Etang out of Dayton as well. How does Anthony Grant plan to use him? That's going to be interesting as well, but for me, Russ, I think it's good to see him land on his feet, but right now it's going to be interesting with Jordi Rodriguez. Russ, let's be honest, if they're saying Tyler McKinley and Jalen Haynes get in the portal too, like Jordi Rodriguez is probably more than likely in the portal, if not already in the portal, pursuing his options well. Seems like Jerrod Calhoun and this staff just want a clean slate, wipe everybody, completely rebuild their own roster for the Big 12, and that's the way it's trending right now. So if I had to imagine, I'm sure we'll see Jordi Rodriguez's name pop up in the portal here in recent days or so.
Not looking like any old Bearcats are going to be part of the new Bearcats. Speaking of new Bearcats, unfortunately, Bearcats football fans will not be able to see all the new Bearcats transfers in action during the spring showcase. We'll get to that after these messages on Bearcat Blitz, presented by FanDuel Sportsbook, where you can bet on the college football national champion for the upcoming season. And we'll switch it up a little bit. How about the Big 12 Conference Champion, where Texas Tech is a minus 140 favorite already to lift the Big 12 trophy, followed by BYU at 7-1 and Utah at 9-1. Nobody else shorter odds than 17-1 to lift that trophy. And Cincinnati is deemed to be one of the worst teams in the Big 12 this coming season, with 80-1 odds on FanDuel Sportsbook to win the Big 12. Not necessarily what you want to see going into year 4 of the Scott Satterfield era. Only Iowa State and Colorado have odds similar or worse. Iowa State at 80-1 and Colorado, the worst odds on the board to win the Big 12 at 125-1. Head to FanDuel Sportsbook today to bet on the college football Big 12 conference winner right now. All of that spring showcase news and info coming up after these messages. Unfortunately, Neil, some bad news to start the show, and we'll reiterate it here. The spring showcase canceled due to inclement weather expected in the tri-state area on Saturday, projecting about a half inch of rain throughout the afternoon. So they're not going to practice in that when you have a sparkly, dry indoor practice facility to use. But unfortunately, that means that the stands will be empty. There is no room to hold fans at the indoor practice facility, so it will be closed to the public, and they will be ensuingly opening up one of the fall camp practices to fans to come check out this August or July, most likely in August when that'll occur. But Neil, winding down the spring, 14 practices down, 1 left. Overall, what are you looking for tomorrow for the final practice right around noon?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing to take away, Russ, right now is obviously still putting the pieces together. How consistent can JC French be in a scrimmage situation. He has looked fantastic throughout spring, in my opinion, from the couple times that I have been able to make it. Now, I haven't been able to be there as much as you or some of the other media members or colleagues of ours, but I think in the first 3 or 4 practices that I've been able to, I've been very impressed with JC French right now. Can the receivers continue to create separation there as well? That's going to be the big thing to keep an eye on. Now, you know what you kind of got working up front on the offensive line. You know the pieces. They're just trying to find the right spots there. But can Cincinnati's defense hold up? They have the size, they have the length, they have the versatility, and they have the athleticism this year. After making some big splashes in the portal, it's going to be a good thing to kind of keep an eye on that secondary and that defensive secondary as well, to kind of see, hey, what does this look like? How does this new 3-4-4 or kind of look like this new defensive scheme? So that's some takeaways that I'm going to be looking forward to tomorrow at 12 o'clock when we get to check out this final practice.
All eyes for me on the defensive front, Neil. How well do Marquez Parker, Cam Rutherford, Jalen White-McClain, Josh Huff, how well can they kind of get after the quarterback and start to really hammer this offensive line that is not at the level it's going to be this fall when Joe Cotton is there, and should be at this point, 15 practices in, the most dialed in that this defensive front has been yet to the keys for this 3-4 blitzing scheme out of Nate Woody. How dynamic do they get tomorrow? I think we're going to see a lot more dynamic blitz packages, a lot more things to try to confuse JC French in this offensive front. And I'm just interested to see how kind of tricky Nate Woody is with his calls tomorrow and with this defensive front that should be as dialed into this system as humanly possible. 14 practices into that new system. Can Cam Rutherford continue his strong spring practice? He's done well. Marquez Parker the same, and Josh Huff, Jalen White-McClain, all of those guys. The ability to find the right rotation there is going to be crucial in replacing Dante Corleone by committee. You're never going to be able to replace him individually right away coming off of that just great run at Cincinnati. But as a whole, I think they might be able to do that. And a big sign will be how well that defensive front can get penetration and can get quick pressures, quick havoc wrecking with so many reps under their belt in this new system so far. It should be a lot of fun. I feel bad for the fans not being able to see it, but we will have you covered and have comments from all the big names and big playmakers from the final spring practice, and will be largely, I'm guessing, a lot of scrimmaging between the defense and offense at the Sheekley Indoor Practice Facility on Saturday afternoon. For Neil Meyer, I'm Russ Heltman. This has been Bearcat Blitz, presented by FanDuel Sportsbook on the Believe Network. Talk to you all again next Tuesday and Friday as the transfer portal frenzy continues, and plenty of spots still to fill for Cincinnati. They have 8 remaining for the 15-player roster. Probably not going to fill all those in the next week or so, but surely we'll have some more spots filled by the time we talk again. Have a great weekend, everybody.
6, Ritter to the end zone, looking for Pierce. Did he hang on? Yes. Touchdown. Back as I've been around. Here he goes again. Busts free. Jerrod Ford down the sideline. Foot race. House call. Touchdown. 79 yards. Big one in the Peach Bowl. This is a big one, too.